Hey guys, this is Adam Parsons from Jarrett Parsons Entertainment, and there's only one podcast to watch, and that's Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time for British Wrestling's sharpshooter, your host, Stu Harmer.
It's episode 70, and what a guest I've got today. It is the daughter of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, Georgia Smith. Davey Boy was one of my favourites growing up, flying the flag for the UK over in WWF, WWE, so it was an absolute honour and a privilege to speak to Georgia about her dad. Talk about her father's legacy, the match with Bret at SummerSlam 1992, which I was in attendance for, and all the permutations around that match, still in my top 3, that one. We talk about her father's legacy and how she is posting across social media plenty of matches from WWE, full matches I might add, from Davey Boy's illustrious career. We talk about Hart House in Calgary, where the Hart family lived many, many years ago. We talk about the Sunday dinners, about her granddad Stu Hart, the legend. So, without further ado, this is episode 70 with Georgia Smith, the daughter of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Enjoy. My guest, all the way from Florida, it is Davey Boy Smith's, the British Bulldog's daughter, Georgia Smith, all the way from Florida this evening. How's it going, Georgia?
I'm good. It's a really nice day here in Florida, and as we talked about before, I've just been going, been really busy with my dad's stuff, and I'm happy to be chatting with you.
Can you let the listeners and viewers know what it entails with your dad's stuff, with the legacy stuff, and what you've been doing on the socials? I think we should start there. Quite current.
Well, currently, he's signed with an agency, and they've got a bunch of things lined up for him right now with different brandings, different companies, merchandise, possible Roots of Fight deal. So I've just been going over that. Other projects outside of WWE. Actually talked to WWE today, 2 people from WWE, about his Icons project that's coming out, his documentary, and also about a merchandise. I can't announce it right now, but you guys will see.
Of course.
In 2022. So it's just been really, really busy. And as far as I'm aware of, I haven't gotten the confirmation, but I've been hinted that the Hall of Fame and WrestleMania is going to go ahead. So I don't know what kind of event that is. So I've just been planning for things like that. And as you guys can see, I've just showered. So I'm really trying to train and give it my all for that. So yeah, it's been that. He's got other projects as well. He's got a wrestling clothing line in England. It's in London. It's called Wrestle Merch Central. This is where my hoodie's from.
I know it very well. Yeah, I was having a peruse the other week actually to see what stock there was for the Bulldog. Yeah, brilliant. So much stuff you can get. Incredible.
Exactly. I got a bunch of hoodies from there, and they just messaged me today about some new designs. So my dad, he deserves all of this, and I'm glad, if I've helped ignite and put the life back into the British Bulldog legacy, that's all I've wanted. So I'm really happy for it.
I can't wait for him to go in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, I've watched since 1990, so obviously it's just we're made up over here that he's getting that acknowledgement. I know it's been delayed. I know it was meant to be last year, but it's incredible. It's incredible that he's finally going in.
I know.
He should have been world champion as well. I've said that. I've said that all along. The stuff he could do, the matches he had. So yeah, just can't wait for him to go in. I'm sure you're all so happy over there that he is going in.
Yeah, so whatever the ceremony is, I'm just going to make the most of it and make the best of it, and it will be a celebration of him, and that's all I want. So, yeah.
What are some of your favourite matches of your dad? I think I'll ask you that.
Obviously SummerSlam 1992, just the atmosphere of the match. Sorry, my phone just keeps falling.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Just everything, the fact that it was in England, that was a big thing. And just, I was there live for it, and I got to see it. And, it's never been done before, never has been done again since then. And with the world that we're in, I don't know if it will ever happen again, unfortunately, I don't know if we'll ever, if they'll get to travel. I mean, I'm sure they will. I'm sure things will get back to normal, but it's just looking back now, it's like, wow, like just crazy. So that, his match with Brett, I think it was In Your House. It was 1995. I believe there was like blood involved, but I rewatched that match, and just the athleticism, and they just gave it their all. And some people will say that match was better than SummerSlam. And, I enjoy both of them. And, the Canadian Stampede, the Calgary Stampede in 1997, I was there live for that. One of the most loudest events I've ever been to. And, it was a celebration of, you couldn't not have the Hart Foundation lose. And being there, it was like the last time my family was like together, and we were a unit, and, things were really good. So as a fan being there live, it was amazing. And as a family member watching it all and being there after, that was really cool. And I did enjoy a lot of some stuff with my dad's in WCW in 1993 when he was like with Sting. He had some really good matches with William Regal. And, I'm looking back now, when I'm running his social media and watching, I've had to like re-educate myself on all this stuff, because I'm not like a massive, wrestling's in my blood, but, besides my family, I don't really, I just mainly watch my family and my dad's stuff. So I'm going back and watching his stuff and bits of history. And I saw a clip of him and Sting today, and I was like, they're really cool. They're really cool as a team. They're really cool. And, so some segments were a bit cheesy with the Shockmaster and, Beach Blast. But, wherever my dad was, my dad tried to make it do what he could with what he was given with. And I feel like he pretty much excelled every single time. I know his last run, unfortunately, didn't work out. But, he was the man.
I did tell you in email when we spoke. I was at SummerSlam '92 as well. I came down on the bus from Wales, and I just remember when he came out with Lennox Lewis with the Union Jack. That's such an iconic moment. I know the match itself was incredible. That's in my top three personally. But it was everything that went with it. It was your mum at ringside, obviously, because Brett and Davey going against each other. It just had everything. And I say to younger people that haven't watched a lot of the older matches to go back and watch that match specifically. It's incredible.
Yeah, and you make a point, because looking back, it was obviously a huge event, but now I believe it's more talked about than ever, and it's become like a classic, like not a cult classic, but like it's become more every year. It's becoming more and more of a classic and more talked about. And, I've said this in podcasts before, but I watched that match, in 2002 with my dad, 10 years after it happened. And, it's just crazy how, we watched it and enjoyed it, but imagine watching it today with him, how amazing that would be. And like you said, it was just everything that went along with it with my mom, and just the whole story of it. And it was believable, and it was real. And I think that's why people got behind it. And it was. I wish I could go back as the age I am now and watch it live then. But I'm glad and I'm fortunate that I was there. I can say I was at Wembley.
I've said the same things about it. I wish I'd been older. I appreciated it. It was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. But going back to what you said, I think being a bit older. And when I spoke to TJ last year for the two-parter, he agreed, because I said, I think if I'd have been a bit older, I would have loved it even more, as you say. It's just incredible. I get goosebumps. Yeah. I get goosebumps every time I put it on. It's just just incredible.
Incredible is the word for that. And they made history.
Then his match, just to scoot forward a bit, at the European title, obviously they had the tournament, and then him and Owen in Germany in 1997. Yeah. Incredible match. Another one that stands out for me.
Yeah, that's another one of my favorites too. I always because I think when I watched that match, I think there was a big time delay or something. But that match is what they brought to that match that night was so good. Yeah, that match was amazing. I'm gonna actually maybe watch that when I get off this because I maybe post because it was
so much.
didn't get the credit as well, but it was so good.
It was just, and then obviously going into late '97, then we come to one night only in Birmingham against Shawn Michaels, and I thought there was going to be a riot after that when Michaels went over that night. I watched it on telly. I didn't go to Birmingham, but yeah, I just remember I thought there was going to be a riot in Birmingham that night. You know, when your dad lost that.
There was like so much garbage thrown. Like, yeah, that was not good. Like, you know, I think it could have been handled a lot better than that. And I know, like, my dad it didn't really bother him, but he made out like, you know, I got paid the same. It was whatever. But I think deep down it did hurt him, and it did bother him. Cause I just, you know, his sister that had terminal cancer was there, and you know, it was just like, why did you do that? Like, why was that necessary? You know? But I mean, like, how they handled it, I don't really agree with that. But yeah, I don't like watching that match. I don't like watching that one at all. I don't like watching it.
I brought up a bad one there.
No. You made a very good point. I was just like looking back, like I think I've maybe acknowledged or touched on that match once, and the whole time I've ran my dad's stuff, I'm just like, because it just makes me really, really sad. And I think my dad, he was just like, I think he was pretty much like checked out after that happened. So
I don't think, thinking about it, I don't think Michaels needed the belt, because two months later, I know, and the circumstances were terrible. Brett is my favourite of all time, hands down. You know, the Montreal screw job. I don't think Michaels needed the European title, because 2 months down the line, he was getting the world title anyway. I know in the bad circumstances and Brett was screwed, like, but yeah, to me, it didn't make any sense your dad losing the belt.
No, I didn't really understand that either, but I guess they figured, you know, Brett's leaving and Davey's going to leave, and this is how we're going to handle it. So it's whatever, but I personally didn't.
What did you think about his return to WWF, WWE when he came back in '99? Do you see anything fondly from that time when he came back?
Yeah, it was a bit bittersweet because, you know, Owen was the one that got that wheel and those wheels in motion. He got that going because my dad had been in the hospital at that time with his back injury, and he's, you know, just, you know, he was in there for I don't know how many months, and he was just really low. And Owen was like, hey, I remember Owen would come see my dad all the time. I remember Mick Foley coming by. Yeah, those were like the two main, you know, in WWF at the time that would come by. I think China even came by, but yeah, Owen was like, well, how about you come back and we can be a tag team, and, you know, I think it would be a really good idea, like, when you get out of here. And Owen was like, you know, what I'm doing right now, like, you know, I'm kind of like more of a comedic role, but, you know, I'm just getting like my paycheck, and I'm not really taking things too seriously, and I'm just kind of going with the flow of things. And I think if you come back, we can have fun. My dad was like, okay. So he called Vince on the hospital phone and got that going. And my dad got, you know, he got the contract signed and everything. And then unfortunately that happened with Owen, that devastating, horrible incident. And, you know, my dad, it was just a whole, you know, legal mess with everything and my family. And, you know, my dad he went back, and a lot of people I shouldn't say a lot of people, but a few people in my family weren't happy about that. But, you know, at the end of the day, my dad and Owen had made an agreement, and, you know, he had a family to feed. So he did that. And, you know, my dad, that's all he knew. And my dad, like, it was a horrific accident. But in any case, he went back, and, you know, we saw what happened. You know, he was debuted on SmackDown, and he interrupted Al Snow's and Big Boss Man's match. And it was a really exciting time. It was just bittersweet because, like, you know, Owen wasn't there and that whole situation. And so it was like, I just feel like with my dad, he felt like it wasn't the same when he had gone back because he was by himself. You know, he didn't have Owen And he, I don't know how happy he really was. I know he wanted to make it count, and I know he wanted to get the world championship, and I know he wanted to do things in there before he retired in 2004. But, as a daughter, seeing him go back and, to this day, it was really inspiring to see, because he had a lot of mental and emotional things that had happened from his sister passing away, at 27. And then 3 months later, his mom passed away. And then, that was in February, March, April, May, end of May, Owen passes away. And, he's in this horrible physical condition, and he's recovering from addiction that he got from this horrible, accident with WCW when he fell in the trap door, which he should have sued them about. But my dad, thought, I put my life in the ring. He that was his attitude with it. But, he was never the same after that match. But, seeing him get up and work out every day and, diet and prepare and be really focused on it and be really excited about his return, and looking at the different clothings and attires and outfits, they put him in the jeans. They're like, we want you to have a new look, a new attitude, a new aggression, your heel. And at one point they wanted him to grow a beard. And he tried to grow a beard, and he's like, too itchy. But he was against The Rock, and they had their feud, and as a 12-year-old, seeing that was really cool. And to this day, he motivates me, because when I feel a bit like crap, or a bit like, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not good enough, and I'm like, well, what would Davey do? And he, to this day, he inspires me and he motivates me to be better. And that was an exciting time, and I know, unfortunately, my dad had been home a lot because of his injury, and he wasn't working much, but I'm grateful for that, because I got to spend a lot of time with my dad, time that he had missed. I maybe remember 2 Christmases I ever had with my dad. So, that whole time that in 99 that he was home, when he was out of the hospital, I got to really spend time with him, and he got to learn about me too. So that was cool.
Thanks for sharing that, Georgia. I appreciate you speaking about your dad, and that's nice to hear. Now I want to ask you, what are your memories of Hart House in Calgary? Because I am a massive Brett's at the top there. But the whole family, I had the DVDs, the Heart and Soul, I had Brett's DVD. What were your memories of Hart House in Calgary? I know it was many, many years ago, but I need to ask you.
Well, you can't spell dysfunctional without fun, right? I mean, it was just, from the basement, to the dungeon, to the attic. It was just, pure, my family, we're loving, pretty cool people. We're a little eccentric, but you had the basement, and then you had Teddy Hart in the attic, and then you had Smith in one of the rooms, my Uncle Smith, and there was just something going on all the time. And I wish that back then there had been like a reality show that could have captured all of the stuff that was going on. And there was animals, there was cats and dogs everywhere, there was beautiful furniture. Well, unfortunately it wasn't so beautiful after the animals got done with it. But it was I knew that house like the back of my hand, and that was my safe place to go, and the door was always open. Anybody could literally walk into that house, and my grandfather wouldn't say no to them. And there was the cars all piled up outside, and the Sunday dinners, and it was, he had such a beautiful, stunning house, and outside in the balcony you could see the whole city. And if I am ever in a position where I could have a house, like my grandfather inspired me. It's like he had like this, as strong as he was and as like manly as he was and the grappler he was, he had such a nice touch with like decorating, and like he had chandeliers pretty much in every room, and everything had balance. And I'm a Libra, so I crave balance, but everything was completely balanced. Just the curtains, the mohair chairs, the oriental rugs, the carvings all over the ceilings, like every little thing had details. And obviously that was all created like way before I was born, but it's like, wow, like he made that house. He put so much, literally heart and soul into it. And, you know, when he passed away, it was just just a house, and it wasn't the same anymore. But, you know, I have, you know, 40 first cousins I've calculated.
Wow.
There might be 42, but I think it's like 40 or 42 cousins for first on my mom's side. So, you know, we would see each other pretty much for the most part. All of those cousins at my grandpa's house at, you know, family dinners, Christmas dinners, Easter dinners. But I was there every Sunday. Me, my cousins, Lindsay, Brooke, you know, Natty, Jenny, their other sister, Muffy. We were always all together there. And it was a lot of fun. And, you know, we'd go down in the basement and play, run around in the dungeon. And then, you know, in the summertime, there'd be the ring outside on the grass. So we'd play four corner tag, or we'd play KWA, which was Kids Wrestling Association or Wrestling Alliance. And we'd play wrestling there. So it was never a dull moment.
I remember watching Wrestling with Shadows. We got it on the BBC. I think it was the year after it was released. It was 98. It would have been the Christmas. And me and my dad stayed up and watched it. And your granddad stretching the guys downstairs, those two young guys. Yeah. And I'm just like horrified. I'm like, he's hurting those two like young lads. It was just because I'd never seen it visually before. You'd heard of it about the dungeon. But that was like the first time I'd seen any footage down there, you know.
Yeah, it was. And like my grandfather, as you saw, like he was doing like, it was just like these concentrated, I don't know, it was like the slightest move, like the slightest, like, because my grandfather's not fast. He's not, you know, at that time, and he would just like turn a certain thing, and it was like, like he knew all the pressure points and like the pain. It was like, okay, you see now he's losing like oxygen, or his lips are turning blue. I remember watching that, and Harry's like studying it. And now you look at Harry now, and Harry's, you know, he's Stu Hart II for the most part, grappling and all that. So, and sparring.
He's doing so well now. To see, I watched a lot of MLW 2019 into 2020, obviously before the pandemic, but all the stuff for the Hart Foundation, when it was him, Teddy, and then seeing Brian Pillman Jr. just come out of nowhere, and he's like, oh, you know, he's not just doing the independents, he's on TV, and it was incredible. They had so much momentum. It was so cool. And the feud with the Dynasty, I really enjoyed it. And then obviously culminating in the Opera Cup with your brother and Brian, which was an incredible match. And I love the fact there was no commentary for that match.
No, there wasn't.
It was absolutely, loved it. It was just cool hearing all the noises when they were hitting the moves rather than hearing a commentary scene. So, just incredible. Yeah.
And he had a lot of memories, you know, good times at MLW, and you know, it's a shame that what's happened with the state of the world, but you know, and now he's on to his next chapter. I don't know what he's going to be doing, but yeah, MLW. If for you guys watching, check out the match with the Hart Dynasty versus, I think it was Marco Stunt, Rich Swann, and ACH, I think it was. They're in a group tag. Watch that. And Ted does the Canadian Destroyer to Marco Stunt, and it's something I've never seen before. And I was like, are you sure you guys should have done that? You know, Ted was like, oh yeah, he'll be fine. And you know, it worked out, and it looked like, but I've never seen anything like that. So check that out.
Georgia, you were on MLW as well. I forgot. Mm-hmm. You were on it. I've got to mention you. Even you turned up on MLW. You remember now? Just jog my memory back. Yeah, I remember that as well. How was that for you?
That was cool. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was really fun, like getting to know Brian Pillman and traveling with Harry, and you know, I really love the MLW product, and it was just fun being a part of it. And I'm grateful for my time there and the friends I made, and it was good. It was cool.
Sweet. Just having a look through my notes here. I think can we touch upon your dad's induction a bit more? We talked about it briefly. Yeah, some more of your thoughts about that. Just if you could, please.
Yeah, so he got inducted and we got the call, or Harry got the call. It was February last year, so February 2020. I can't remember like what exact date. I think it was around Valentine's Day. And he had to be quiet about it for a week. It was kind of up in the air about it. Like the WWE told him, and they said, we're going to be making the announcement, but you can't say anything. You can't, you have to be quiet about it. And so Harry was, and then like the next week he called me and he said, what champagne do you like? And I was I was at the office doing my taxes, and I was like, champagne? Like, it's Tuesday. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, I've got some good news. I was like, okay. So I come to his house, and he was like, so yeah, I want to get our mom on the phone because I've signed with AEW. I said, say what? And I was like, that's different. I was like, considering you're with MLW, but all right, cool. That's cool. And he was like, yeah, I want to get her on the phone, and let's get the champagne popping. And we got my mom on the phone, and he says, yeah, I've signed with AEW. My mom's like, oh, wow, okay. Like, we're just kind of like, huh? Like, wasn't like Harry was talking to them. It wasn't, and, he keeps it going, and we're like, okay. And he's like, just kidding, Davey's going into the Hall of Fame. Like, false finish. And I was like, so what? I'm like, so you're not going to AEW? And he was like, no, I just said that so, like, you could come back and, like, make sure you stayed while we all talked. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm going on the bump tomorrow for it. And I'm on the going to Connecticut tomorrow, and I'm going to do the announcement. I was like, oh my God. But he's like, you can't say anything until I announce it. So it was a Valentine's Day episode of the bump, and I'm watching it, and like they're going over Natty's and TJ's and Harry's, the Hart Dynasty's history. And I was like, okay. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And like, I told the people at my work, like close people, I was like, just be very quiet about it, but just watch the network, watch it. And they're all like, where's this announcement? And like, there was some confusion, not Harry's or WWE's faults, but there was something that happened. And they said like, oh yeah, well, we have to postpone it. We're going to do it. We're going to have you go on Corey Graves' show and his podcast, and he's going to announce it. And it's going to be sometime in March. And I was like, we're on Valentine's Day. I have to wait over a month. And Harry was like, yeah, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, for God's sakes. So, yeah. And then when they finally announced it March 12th on the Corey Graves podcast, I remember I was so happy to like finally announce it. And then when that happened, that was when everything got shut down. March 12th, it was COVID was like the main announcement. And I was like, and we all never got to see, we saw like the Bella Twins video, Bella Twins in the Hall of Fame. We saw, but it's like to this day, we haven't seen like Davey's package for that. We haven't, and it will all happen. For God's sakes, like, so it's been a struggle, as for all us Davey fans, because we're all like, okay, we want this, we've been wanting this. And yeah, so as far as I knew, I mean, things were closed down, but I saw on Twitter the mayor of Florida, or mayor of Tampa, sorry, was like, WrestleMania is still going to happen. And so I had confidence in that. And then it was like, I got a call from the person I was working with, who was our liaison for the Hall of Fame. And they're like, yeah, obviously it's not going to be happening, but the next pay-per-view that we can allow fans, we would love to do it then. And they're like, it would be really cool if we could do SummerSlam. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that would be really cool. And so I had like hopes for that. And then, we're here today in January 2021 and still no audience. So yeah, that's how I got the news, and that's how that happened. And, I'm really wanting it to happen, but at the same time, it just would have meant so much more if like if the fans could be there. I mean, maybe, I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. But, my grandfather, he's my dad's dad. He's in his 80s. He's in England. And I was just really wanting him to be there in person. And I just know would have really meant a lot to them. So that's what pains me the most. And, besides my dad, that having to wait, it's because he deserves it and it's about him. But my grandfather in England, said like he should be there. And that's what's eats at me about all of this. But, you know, obviously we can't, this is what we're dealing with and we have to make the most of it. So, yeah, but I was really excited about it. And, you know, when I was at WrestleMania, the last one in 2019, WWE had asked me, you know, they had brought up the Hall of Fame to me with my dad and like, would I be interested in it? You know, what have I done to kind of like expedite things? And I was like, well, I've started this, and a fan in England, he started a petition for my dad, and they were like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. All right. Well, you never know. You know, you never know. And I was like, okay, you never know. And then, you know, coming to the next year, you know, it was like getting into November, December, and I know NWO and Batista was announced, and I was like, I'm going to be so devastated if they don't have WrestleMania. I mean, if they don't have Davey a part of this, because I said to WWE as well, I was like, Davey lived in Tampa, Harry and I live in Tampa, and they're like, oh yeah, we know that. Yeah, we know that. But they were announcing all these names, and I was just like, I just said to my friends, I was like, you know what? I'm just feeling really discouraged. I was like, you know, I think I would have known by now if my dad was going in. And I was like, and it just kind of hurts. And they were like, hey, you know, there's still time. And then literally like 3 days later, I got the news, and I was like, oh my God. Like to this day, like I still can't quite believe it, like until it actually happens. But, you know, I'm so, and people will be like, oh, well, it's just stuff. It's just Hall of Fame. No, this matters to me. This is so important to me. And my dad's best work was in WWE. And I'm so, you know, people can be like, well, it should have happened a long time ago. Yes, it should have, but things happen the way that they're meant to. And I don't think Davey should have been inducted like in Texas or New York or, you know, Tampa. That's where he lived. And that's where he, that's it. So it's, if it took that long to have it all come together there, fine. You know, that's what matters to me. And I'm just grateful that WWE, they, you know, took notice and are giving credit where credit's due and recognizing all the hard work and everything that my dad did. And, you know, he's, you know, clearly they're doing the icons thing. My dad's a legend. He's an icon, and, you know, it's happening. So, yeah.
How was it shooting the icon stuff? Obviously, we've seen little bits and pieces. How was that for you?
Yeah, so I got the call for that in July. I was doing an appearance with Harry and in New York, and it was like, yeah, we're going to be filming soon, and like you have to be, it's very, very hush hush. And then I did like a Zoom meeting with all of them in September, talking about like who was the lineup for it. Like, we have to keep this confidential. After, you know, the 30 days of Undertaker on the network is over, we're going to be doing this. And I was like, okay. And they just said, like, this is just about Davey, and like, this is about, you know, Harry wrestling with his name. And they're like, and the fact that you have brought so much attention to him. You know, he's in the Hall of Fame now. He's got all this new merchandise. His name's being brought up. He's in all of these new things. And they're like, yeah, and, you know, everything about him has grown so much because of what you've done. And I'm like, oh, well, that's really cool. Thank you. And they're like, you know, his legacy is so hot right now. And, you know, he's going into the Hall of Fame, and, you know, he's the greatest British wrestler of all time. So we want to touch on that. I was like, that's really cool. So they came and they filmed like back to back to back, and they still have to come film my dad's stuff. They're actually filming my dad's family in England Thursday.
Oh, so, wow, brilliant. Oh, fantastic.
Really good.
That's brilliant. So
full circle. Unless something happens, but
yeah,
that will be really good, because, you know, you guys will see my granddad. You'll see my dad's sister, and unfortunately my dad's brother, he passed away a month ago. So
I did see. Condolences.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, that will be really cool. And they came and they filmed at our house, and my mom came down for it. And it was, you know, the thing of it was I didn't want it to be like a trained seal where like the spotlight's on me and I just say answers that like everybody's expecting, or everybody, and it's like, okay, and next question. Like I told them, I was like, this is really important to me, and I want this to come out as real as possible. And you know, I might jump back and forth to things, or I might, I don't know, get shifty-eyed or whatever. I was like, but this, I'm trying to be as authentic and as real as possible, and this is really important to me. And I want you guys to see the person that I knew, the man that I loved, the father I had. And they were like, okay, the stage is yours. So I talked, and I was the last one that they filmed. And I'm not sure how I'm going to come across on film because my skin was not very good, and it was a long day. But you know, it's not about that. It was about Davey. So it was really cool. And somebody asked me today, they said, how does it feel knowing that everything you wanted to happen with your dad has come true? And I was like, wow, it's crazy. And if you check my Instagram story today, you know, I had a list of things I wanted to accomplish with him, and they've all happened. So, yeah, it's, I don't know what's going to happen over these next few months, you know, leading to the Hall of Fame, or what's going to happen after. But, you know, I feel like I want to keep doing what I can for my dad. And if it all slows down after that, then, you know, so be it. But I'm going to keep doing what I can.
Georgia, I've got another just questions popping into my head here. What is your favourite piece of your dad's attire? Because obviously you post a lot of stuff socially. So yeah, it'd be nice to know what you like. What was like your favourite piece he wore, favourite garment?
And that's WWE. They have to come back and film that as well. So you just reminded me. So the stuff that I've got on the rack, there is, oh boy, I'm like trying to like go down the rack in my head. Probably he's got these tights that he wrestled against Repo Man. I think it was like a UK Rampage 91. But these tights, they come like there's like these drawstrings on the sides. It's like these strings, and like you could see my dad's skin on his like thigh or his leg, but it's like roped and it's like braided up his leg. But those are really cool. I have a British Bulldog's. It was a vest, I think it was like a vest, but it's like a sequin vest. I saw my cousin Bronwyn, Dynamite's daughter. She did an interview over the weekend, and I guess she's got her dad's, but it's all falling apart. My dad's one is like really good condition. So thank you to my mom for keeping it in pristine condition. That's really cool. And he's got a cape. He's got a cape from WrestleMania 7 against the Warlord. That's really cool. Those are my favorites.
That's cool. That's cool. I think, sort of speaking of 1991, what an iconic event from the Royal Albert Hall in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
What an event. We still watch that fondly. I'll put that on. And to think, you know, he led the way on that one, because there was no Hogan there. What Warrior wasn't around, and it was just incredible. No. So I watch it back every now and again, the whole event, but mainly the Battle Royal that he won.
I watch that often too, and you know, people always tag my dad in it, or like it's always sent to me. It's always floating and circulating, but I could never get sick of watching that. It was just so cool, and I think it was one of Andre's last kind of appearances, like with wrestling, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I've been to the Royal Albert Hall, I think a couple of times since, and it's just, it was just iconic. Like, it was just so cool. I don't know whatever happened to that trophy that he won.
The Royal Samovar trophy.
Yeah, like near the end of it, holding it as like coming apart or something. But it was that was really, really cool. And you see, like, my dad was like against all the odds, you know, with like, was it earthquake near the end of it?
Yeah. Typhoon.
Typhoon.
Sags are the nasty boys in there, I think.
Yeah.
Memory serves. The Mountie was in there. Jock Ringo was in there.
Yeah, and I think if I recall, my dad's nose got like bloody in it, and it was just awesome. It was just such a classic. And sometimes when I go back and I watch my dad's stuff, sometimes it like makes me a little sad or something, but I could watch that and I'm like, oh, that was just a good time. That's so awesome.
I think looking back to that, you can see that run he had, them plotting the course to SummerSlam for the following summer, how they were booking him, because he was so strong leading into that match. Obviously as a kid I didn't look at it like that, but years later, it's just like, yeah, they were plotting the cause for the Intercontinental title, weren't they? Most definitely.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you go back and look, like all of his merchandise from 1991, it was like, you know, it was like him and Hulk Hogan or him and Macho Man. Like they're always together. Like he was like in that group. So yeah, that was all around that time. He was getting a real mega push. Like you said before, I wish he could have gotten the world championship.
He was the icon over here. Like honestly, when we were kids, it didn't matter if you're from Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. Like I remember him doing shots on the kids' television on our TV when he used to come over, and it was just like I didn't have Sky Television. People used to tape it for me, or I'd go to my cousins. I badgered my dad for Sky TV for about 10 years until we got it. So everyone was taping the events for me. But when he was on TV, it'd be BBC when he was doing like the breakfast television stuff. So that's how I used to see him. Just used to be incredible when they all used to come on TV when you were a kid, wearing their full attire and just crazy. The stuff that you don't see now, the stuff they don't do now that they used to do.
Was he on? I think he was on something called like Zig and Zap or something.
That was cool. That was like a section in the show that they did. It was called the Big Breakfast on Channel 4. That was. Which was huge over here in the 90s. That was a big program, and BBC had Alive and Kicking on a Saturday. I'm sure he was on that.
Kicking. Yes. Yeah, you got a good
Macho Man used to come on and like just used to Undertaker turned up once. It was like, wow, what's going on?
That's man. I wish we could go back. I know.
The kids were legitimately frightened when Undertaker turned up in his full gear.
Yeah, he definitely had that presence. Yeah, to this day, I'm always like, can I go up to him and like say hi? Because he's just, he's the dead man. But yeah, that's awesome. Man, memories.
Just before we close out, which other matches do you like watching of your dad's? Maybe some of the Harts as well. Some of the like Owens matches or Brett's, the Anvils.
I also liked when my dad feuded with The Rock. I thought that was cool. Back when the Hart Foundation was doing like in the 97 when they were like heels, they did such a good job. Like, I don't know, like their comedic timing or something. Like they just all worked so well together, and like Brett was coming out with really good promos. Like, and they just, I don't know, it just seems so effortless. Like, whereas I'm not saying anything against it now, but it's like when they were doing promos then, it's like they just thought of something and it was just flowed so well. And then Wrestling with Shadows, you remember when Jim was like, he says something about the promo and Jim's like, yeah, I say that. And like, they just, boom, like it just worked. With Brian Pillman, Hart Foundation, those were some really cool moments. The dog, the Beware of Dog, I think it was with Ken Shamrock, I think and my dad with food.
The dog food, yeah.
That, and I like Ken Shamrock a lot. Owen, what were some of my favorite? I think there's a match of Owen and The Rock that I really liked. When Owen was with Nation of Domination, that was like really random, but it was funny. You're making me like want to go and watch some stuff. Some of the stuff, like it kind of makes me sad, so I kind of like block it out.
I've got a funny segment for you. It's just triggered in my brain again. When Brett and Austin had the back and forth in the ring, and he broke Brett's leg with the chair as he's dropped off the top rope. And when they're wheeling him back into the ambulance, when they're wheeling Brett into the ambulance, and your dad and Owen are there, and they're like, "Watch his knee! Watch his knee!"
Yeah,
and all you can hear is your dad, "Watch the cable, guys!" And Owen's just going nuts because they go over the cable and he's hurt his leg and all that. I was in stitches because Owen and Davey was much a part of it as Brett being in there in pain, going into the back of the ambulance. Just ridiculous but funny. And as a kid,
so ridiculous. Like, where did you come up with this? So it was like on the fly too.
Your dad's like a bit calmer, but Owen's losing his rag. It's just hilarious. Yeah. Good times, good times. Georgia, where can we find you on social media? Obviously, stuff with your dad. Just plug away, plug to your heart's content.
So my dad's Instagram is at the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. My dad's Twitter is at _ Davey Boy Smith, and his Facebook is at the British Bulldog. My dad also has a YouTube page, and he gets videos updated on the regular. There was 3 that were updated today. I think it's just under the British Bulldog. That's his channel. It's Davey Boy Smith, one of the 2. You can find him on there. And my Instagram is at Georgia J. Smith, and my Twitter is at Georgia Smith 87. And my Facebook is facebook.com/Georgia Smith 7. I like 7 because I was born in 87. So yeah, that's where you can follow me. And you guys will be seeing me on the little box on TV very soon with icons, and there's some other things lined up that I can't wait for you guys to see. And my dad's got some big news coming. So if you guys think that you've heard it all, you haven't heard it yet. So I can't wait to announce the next bit of news I've got for him.
I saw your little teaser earlier today. So I'm looking forward to that when you announce it officially. I look forward to that, absolutely. My guest, all the way from Florida, the daughter of the UK icon, world icon actually, the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. It is Georgia Smith. Thank you so much for coming on Stu's Wrestling Podcast today. It's been a blast. Loved it.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you had me, and I've had a lot of fun and love England. I can't wait to go back. And also, whenever For the Love of Wrestling happens in Liverpool, I will be there. So you guys can take a look at my dad's stuff. I will have his Hart Foundation vest there that you guys can take a look, try on, take pictures with. It's going to just all be a fun event. So be really cool.
Thank you very much.
This episode is brought to you in association with Powered 4 TV, so go and check them out for anything wrestling related, old events, new events when we come out of COVID, podcasts, you name it, it's all there at Powered 4 TV, so find them across social media.